we have raster formats. So a file format, of which there are hundreds for raster data, is a standard way of encoding and storing the raster data in a computer file. And it specifies specifically how the bits of information, zeros and ones, are structured on the disk or in a memory of the computer. And file formats, some can be proprietary, meaning that they're owned by a particular company, and anybody that uses that file format, any other company would have to pay royalties. And sometimes the proprietary formats are not open for other softwares to use, for example. The geodatabase file format of ArcGIS is a proprietary format. It's not open, and so you don't find a lot of support for it in other software. It's owned by Esri in California, and they haven't published the specifics of that, so it's not a common format outside of ArcGIS Pro. Whereas a shapefile, the other type of file for ArcGIS, is an open, it's not open, it's proprietary, but its code and structure has been published so that it's available for use across GIS systems everywhere, making it the most common type of file for vector data. To identify formats, they're going to be identified by a file extension. So in Windows Explorer, you see file names, and then there's a dot and something after that. It's usually a 3 or 4 letters. So 3 or 4 letters, for example, .ext. This could be .gif for a GIF, graphics interchange file format, PNG for a portable network graphics format, Tiff for a tagged image file format, or any other thing after the file name. And so to understand formats, you have to look at them in Windows Explorer to see that extension. And for GIS files, sometimes there are many files with the same file name, but different extensions. And all of those are required together. So it could be ext, AAA, B, C, D, etc. as file extensions, but they all have the same file name. And all of those together are required for use in a GIS system, for example. So GIS files, or raster data, often have supporting files that have the same file name but different extensions, and they're all required together. And there are numerous file formats for raster data. Just the most common one that's used with raster data inside of GIS systems is a TIFF, tagged image file format. And these are used specifically because they are non-lossy, even compressed TIFFs. And a lossy format represents a file format for raster that actually changes the values of the cells so that it can better compress it to make a smaller total file on disk. JPEG is the most commonly used format that is lossy. And that means you never want to use a lossy format to save or share your raster data files or raster layers. In ArcGIS Pro, in Catalog View, we can see, for example, in the Lecture 1 folder, the Format subfolder, a bunch of different files in there. We see one which is a geodatabase, one which is a .img, one is a .dat, one is a .jpg, and one's a .tiff. So those are the different types of files. And we see just one instance of each. Now, if we looked at that same folder in Windows Explorer over here on the right, we would see that the landcover.gdb is actually a folder. So a geodatabase is a folder on your hard drive. The IMG, just follow me on that down here, actually contains 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 files together. And all of those have the same file name, but different extensions. And ArcGIS knows to just show that those 5 files as a single thing here. But those 5 files are necessary for ArcGIS to show it in catalog view and to use it in ArcGIS Pro. And you can see that for other ones. Here's the Tiff, a Tiff image, again a tagged image file, tagged image format or tagged image file format, TIFF. It has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different files associated with it, all with the same name, but a different extension on each one. And all 6 of those are required in order for the ArcGIS to use this file in ArcGIS Pro. And it's smart enough to know that all those 6 just are the same or represent one single TIFF file. And you can see that also for the other ones here. So it's very important to understand that, especially when you're moving raster files around outside of catalog. Catalog view is the best place for you to go and manage your raster data. If you try to manage it in Windows Explorer, you have to look for all the files with the same name and make sure you copy those or delete them all or do whatever you want with all those files, whether it be 5 or 6 files together. Whereas you can still copy, delete, move them in a catalog view as single files, which makes it much easier because it's made to handle and understand the complex formats and multiple file formats for the same image layer easily.